Because you can't be someone and judge them at the same time.
Right.
The actor's sort of goal is to release whatever judgment that you may have had or have for that individual and to just live in their shoes. And as a person, as an actor, you get a chance to release judgment and then love can fill in its space. Right? And so I said, Mom, if that's not God's work, I don't know what is. Even if each person isn't a Christian, even if each person doesn't espouse to follow the tenets of, love, beauty, and divine intelligence or whatever, we're all here on purpose. And being able to understand each other allows us to connect in a way that if we just push each other to the fringes, it'll always be us and them.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and riches blessings, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our podcast, Take Back Your Mind. As you know, I am Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center, and your host on Take Back Your Mind, where I have the privilege and the honor to talk with wonderful beings week after week after week, individuals in their own way who have taken back their mind from perhaps worry, doubt, fear, or learn to work with the fear and step through the hoops of that transformation to become what they're destined to become. But in some way, shape, form, or another, we're talking about having the mind no longer be hijacked by the world of appearances and external circumstances and conditions, and that we begin to govern our own awareness and our own mind, making choices from a more expanded consciousness. So welcome to Take Back Your Mind. I'm with Brother Sterling K. Brown today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Listen, I know you got an extremely busy schedule, so I'm just appreciative that you came.
Anytime I get to be in your presence, the joy, the honor, the pleasure is mine.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I feel the same
real quick.
way
There
with
we go.
you.
Okay.
Yes. So in case you don't know who this man is, and you probably do, but I'll give you just a little bit of short bio on him. He's a recipient of various accolades, including 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, Golden Globe Award, Academy Award nomination. He was included in Time's list of 100 most influential people in the world in 2018. He portrayed Christopher Darden in the FX Limited series, The People vs. O.J. Simpson, American Crime Story, and starred as Randall Pearson in the NBC drama series. And you know, This Is Us. I got some good stories about that. Some of the other TV roles include Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Amazon Prime comedy series, The Marvelous Miss Maisel. He's got something going on Netflix now with J-Lo. What's that called?
It's called Atlas.
Atlas. I started watching that. He's leading roles in Hotel Artemis, the mockumentary film Honk for Jesus, Savior Soul. I saw that.
You did.
I did, because I was aware of the minister that it was mocking in Atlanta, Georgia.
There's no specific, according to lawyers, there's no specific minister, but whoever you conjure is quite all right.
It's quite all right, because it was just so close. Voice roles in animated films, The Angry Birds 2, Frozen 3. Supported roles in several critically acclaimed films such as Marshall, the Black Panther, Waves, American Fiction. Ooh, American Fiction. Oh, my God. You were great in that.
Thank you, sir.
I went and saw that 3 times, with 2 in the theater.
Right
and he
on.
received a nomination for Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in that film. I always wanted to say, when you did Black Panther,
Yes, sir.
I want them, when they did Black Panther 2, and if they do another one, they got to go back and get you out of the hinterland.
Anytime they want, I'm there.
You know what I'm saying?
Because
they had you as an ancestor.
That's right.
And it's like, in real life, I mean, in the way I see it,
Yes.
you wouldn't be there forever.
No.
You would evolve. You
Sure.
become an ancestor.
There you go.
You know, you do your judgment of yourself, you clear
Right.
yourself up, make amends.
I like it. Anytime they're ready.
I'm gonna write him.
I'm ready. Okay.
And I'm going to say, listen.
Let them know, Rev. Let them know.
He can't be stuck. He can't be stuck in purgatory.
No,
Just
sir.
a little shoot.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
So listen, accountant to actor,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. So I was an economics major.
Yeah, you're economic major at Stanford.
At Stanford University, and I had an internship at the Federal Reserve Bank. I did an internship program called Inroads, which I think is present in Los Angeles, for minority students interested in pursuing careers in business and industry. And I thought that my path was a pragmatic one. My mom sent me to a private school, St. Louis Country Day, which is now Mary Institute Country Day School. Spent a nice chunk of change. We got into Stanford University. And I thought that the arts were pursuits that were only for people of privilege, who did not have to make a monetary contribution to their home, to their community, to their people. And when I got to school, Professor Harry Elam, who was a professor, an August Wilson Scholar at Stanford University, who I did not expect to meet, came to our dorm, Ujima House, which was the African-American themed dorm on campus. There's 4 themed dorms: African-American, Asian-American, Native American, and Latino, Chicano-American. And he asked people to audition for the play. And I was like, I've never done a play written by someone who was African-American. Wow. Going to a predominantly white school and doing all, Miller and Tennessee Williams and all these plays, whom I adore. Right. But it was, to do Wilson, it did feel sort of like, this feels familiar in a way that I have not had a chance to experience before. I did that play. I had a great time doing it. And he said, you should just keep auditioning. I know you don't plan on majoring in this, but the department gets something by your involvement in it. And I think you get something out of it.
But you did that role.
I did that role. I did this role. And for the 4 years that I was at school, people who saw it would be like, dude, that Joe Turner's come and gone. That was awesome. That was great. And after 2 years of really thinking about it and listening to the still small voice, I realized that this thing that I had relegated to a very narrow area in my life of hobby, of sort of passion, but not worthy of pursuit, was like, no, I'm telling you, come walk through this door.
You're getting a call.
I'm getting a call. Yeah. And I thank God that I was receptive, young enough, maybe naive enough, whatever, to not feel as if I had to adhere to conventional constructs of what my life should look like. Yes. And be able to feel into like, this feels right.
Yes, yes. How did Mama take this? I mean,
yes.
She wanted you to make sure you were paying the bills.
For sure.
You were making a contribution.
Yes.
And you went. She sent you to private schools.
She did indeed.
You went to Stanford. Where'd you go after Stanford?
I went to NYU for grad school, got my MFA in acting. Right. I said, Mom, I'm thinking about changing my major. And she said, okay. I said, I'm thinking about changing it to acting. And she goes, okay. And she goes, and I knew she would. She said, did you pray about it? I said, yes, ma'am, I did. And she said, this is the way you feel led? And I said, yes, ma'am, I do. And she said, go with God. Wow. And my mom has come to every show that I've ever done until she was unable. Currently, she's living with ALS, been diagnosed since April of 2018, but she is still with us. And she's still smiling when I walk into her presence and still responsive and whatnot. So she's not done. She's not done yet.
Right. She's going to see a few more of your projects.
Yes, she will.
Now, did you feel that when you made this move, it took courage? Or did you move through fear? Or was it full-on inspiration?
It was full-on inspiration. It was fear for everyone around me.
They were all afraid for you.
Everybody around me was like, bro, are you sure this is the way you want to do? But it was so clear. I had this one moment when I was on stage, Rev, and they have this thing in the theater called a ghost light. It's a light that never turns off. Yeah. And I was standing in front of the ghost light, and my shadow was being cast out into the audience. And I stuck my arms out like this, and I could see myself embracing the audience. And these words came to me. I said, for the next couple of hours, when people come in, I'm going to entertain you, I'm going to educate you, I'm going to edify you. Hopefully you learn something, hopefully entertain, hopefully you laugh or you feel joy in this presence, and hopefully you feel inspired to be a better version of yourself, or hopefully make the world a better place. So those words
came to you?
To entertain,
did you say those words out loud?
I did.
To the audience.
No, I didn't say them to the audience. I said them to myself because I was by myself.
This is like
in
an
the
affirmation.
theater.
You
like
were
an
getting,
affirmation.
You were getting like a download.
Yes, sir.
From God.
From God.
From your higher self.
Yes, sir.
Oof, and that became like a mission.
Yes, it did.
Statement.
Yeah.
A feeling mission statement.
It absolutely did. And so because I think I had gone through that before I made this decision to major in it, it felt like, no, this is the path. Like whatever I thought it was supposed to look like, this is actually it. So just do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I appreciate the part that people were nervous around you.
Oh, so much.
I remember, when I started Agape.
Yes.
And I can remember the week before Agape was to have its first service.
Okay.
I was up in Sillamar Conference Ground, up in Monterey. And a friend comes up to me, and he says, you're starting Agape next week. I said, yeah. He says, you quit your job. I said, yes. He said, you got 2 kids. I said, yes. He said, you don't have any money. I said, yeah. He said, you're just going to just leap out and do this? And I said, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't feel that I had any wiggle room of choosing at this moment.
Right.
It was like I was called to do this.
Yes.
And he said, I couldn't do that, man, like that. And I said, well, I don't think you were called to do this.
There you go.
This, you're gonna work with me, you're gonna assist me. But I was called to do this.
Right.
And then he walked away. Then another friend of mine came up, and she said, isn't it great? You're starting the spiritual community next week. You quit your job. You're leaping out there, without a net, to just put your hand in the arms of the Spirit. You're actually practicing what you teach.
Yes.
She was all excited. So
yes.
There were 2 parts.
Yeah.
One was like, man, I don't know what you're doing. The other part was like, let's do this. So they represented both sides of me.
Sure.
Of course, the inspired one won.
So this is, you made the statement like you didn't have a choice.
Right.
I don't even feel like I chose acting or anything. I feel like it chose me.
Yeah.
I felt like I actively tried to
stay
go
away
from it. And then it just
kept knocking.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I just have to listen. That's all that was being asked of me in that particular moment. It's like, I'm trying to tell you something. Do you have ears to hear, eyes to see, and a heart of understanding? And I was like, okay, let me just obey.
Absolutely. That's the feeling I had too. And I resisted. I resisted for a couple of years.
You did?
Oh yeah. I liked my life.
Sure.
It was small, but it was.
I hear you.
I had clients every day.
Uh-huh.
I was doing seminars, doing workshops, and the voice said, you're doing your work halfway. And then they told me later on, the ancestors said, if you don't do what you're called to do, we don't really need you to be on the planet anymore.
Really?
Oh yeah. And they began to shrink my life.
Whoa!
To the point that I received the calling and said yes, and threw myself into the abyss of transformation. So, but I know this thing that you're talking about.
Yes.
Choosing you, because if we fast forward a moment to, every role you play, you're so authentic in it. I remember seeing you were a pimp.
Was that?
Yes. You don't remember the role.
I don't know.
My brother and I talk about it sometimes.
Really?
But when you came on the screen, it was a small role.
Sure,
years
sure.
ago.
Yeah.
It was like, who's his brother? But you had humanity. But that's not the role I was going to talk about. When you did Randall,
Yes, sir.
The effect that you had on so many people, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It
was.
Matter of fact, I gave you that book that Howard Bach wrote.
Yeah.
It was inspired. He was adopted, so he wrote this book on his adoption. But a lot of his healing came from watching your character. He's a member of Agape. Yeah.
That is. Listen. When I go out into the world, and when you can tell what people know you from, like whether they know you as a pimp, whether they know you as like somebody from Supernatural that had to kill a vampire, what have you. There's a very rabid fandom from cartoons. The This Is Us fans.
Yeah.
There's so much love and appreciation for being seen. He lived with anxiety, sort of suffering from perfectionism, thinking that there was a perfect way to be in the world. Sort of like made him constantly on edge,
Right.
There was real, I don't know if people always felt seen in that way. And then to see him take steps towards being gracious with himself. Right, and giving themselves permission to be gracious with themselves. Nobody is perfect.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
God is perfect. we try to live into that vibration as best we can, as frequently as we can, as consistently as we can. Fall out, you fall back in.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
You fall down, you get back up.
There you go.
Yeah.
7 and 8. You know what I'm talking about, Rev. But it was a joy. I'm happy my mom got a chance to see that character. She loved Randall. I love Randall.
One of the things I was going to ask you is, of all the characters you play, I remember catching you about a year ago. I turned on the television, and there you were with, I think, Robert De Niro. You were in some.
It was a movie called Righteous Kill. It was Pacino and De Niro. Yes.
I saw you sit at the table.
Sure.
I said, Darden's been around a long time. But what is your favorite? Is it Randall your favorite character, or the person you most like to meet in real life if you had to meet any of these guys?
That's a good question. I guess like and love is two different things, because I have genuine affinity for any and everyone that I've ever played. And I think you have to be your character's defendant, sort of protector in that way. And you don't have to like every aspect of everything, but you have to understand what their motivation is.
Right.
And so I guess the characters that are actually the ones that ask me to stretch the most, give me the most, because, and this is the conversation that I had with my mom with regards to acting. I did a part, I was a bulimic New York City cop. It was one of the first series regulars I did. It was a show called Starved. And in the pilot of the show, he pulls over this bicycle delivery guy on a trumped up traffic charge, and as payment takes all the food that he was about to deliver to somebody else. Then he goes into a back alley and he gorges himself on the food, and then he uses his baton in the solar plexus to purge, right? And I said, Mom, thank you for watching the pilot. If you don't want to watch anymore, that's okay. And she said, thank you. Don't think she watched any more of that show. But I say that to say, because you can't be someone and judge them at the same time.
Right.
The actor's sort of goal is to release whatever judgment that you may have had or have for that individual, and to just live in their shoes. And as a person, as an actor, you get a chance to release judgment, and then love can fill in its space. Right? And so I said, Mom, if that's not God's work, I don't know what is. Even if each person isn't a Christian, even if each person doesn't espouse to follow the tenets of, love, beauty, and divine intelligence or whatever, we're all here on purpose. And being able to understand each other allows us to connect in a way that if we just push each other to the fringes, it'll always be us and them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remind me, I used to say a lot, still do from time to time, that behind every human aberration, there's a spiritual aspiration.
Yes.
That there's something trying to push itself
Sure.
out. And it may be coming out destructive,
Right.
limited, hurtful, harmful, self-abuse, whatever the case may be. But that energy is trying to express itself.
Right.
So it's aspiring to be something. So if you don't judge it,
Yeah.
as you say, love can fill in the gaps.
Yes.
Healing can happen.
Amen.
Revelation can take place.
Yes.
I heard Lawrence Fishburne talk about that one time when he was playing Ike.
Mm-hmm.
He said he had to humanize him. He couldn't take on all the judgments of what other people were saying about Ike. He just went in and realized everybody's human.
Yeah.
Everybody's judging. Everybody has a perception, and just played them to the best of his ability.
That's it.
Yeah. So let's fast forward. You got nominated for an Oscar.
I did.
That's pretty big, man.
That was cool.
I know. I remember watching your Instagram, and you were talking about you gotten some Emmys, I guess, and your son wasn't too impressed. How old was he at the time?
He was 12. It was just last year. Yeah, he'll make little jobs. I think Andrew, my oldest son, who I adore, he sees it as his responsibility to bring Dad to a level playing field. He sees sort of adoration and attention that I can receive in the world, and he's like, man, these people don't even know, man.
Listen, that's what kids are for. I'm here to
That's
tell
what they're for.
I'm here to tell you, man, my kids jump on me they love me to death.
Of course.
But they always
Yes.
find something to chip at me about.
Yes. So I remember I got nominated for something right before.
Yeah, you did.
And he goes, yeah, man, well, you tell me when you get nominated for an Oscar, then it'll be cool. And then I got nominated for an Oscar, and you can see his brain try to come up with something smart to say, and he's thinking, he just goes, congratulations.
Wow.
It was cool.
So that you traveled from almost being an accountant.
Right.
You're good with numbers.
I'm solid with
Math.
numbers. I was that
Yeah,
AP,
yeah.
BC calculus guy in the economics. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way to being nominated for an Oscar.
Yes, sir.
Emmys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a nice path. That's a nice journey.
To God be the glory.
You know?
I
how did that change your life? I mean, just to be nominated that's a small club.
Sure, it is.
You know.
It is. And it's interesting, too. People would get slightly upset with me, not super upset, because they're like, oh, man, you're going to win it. And I was like, I'm probably not. But that's cool, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't saying that like putting myself down. Like I kind of been in the industry long enough to know how things go. And I would go on the shows and I was like, look, Robert Downey Jr. is going to win an Oscar. And I'm going to stand up and I'm going to applaud him when he does. And before the Oscars, because we're all sitting in the same row, I walked over to him and I said, hey, man, congratulations. He's like, man, don't say anything. And his wife goes, thank you. Because she knew. His wife knew. She knew.
It was his time.
It was his time.
Yeah.
And he got out. And he has such a beautiful story. The fact that he's been able to come back after all the abuse that he went through and just be whole and healthy. And he and his wife have a beautiful relationship. When he came back after winning and he is carrying his Oscar, I said, congratulations, man. And he hands me his Oscar and he goes, you should get used to the weight of this.
Ah, that's
and I
beautiful.
said, that's what's up, man.
That's beautiful.
It was really cool. I pinch myself, Rev, and I know that I'm capable, and this comes directly from you, to authentically celebrate other people's success.
Yes.
And I do believe that is key in terms of like the way in which people have embraced me through this journey in life, because I don't believe that anyone has ever taken anything away from me.
Right.
I was like, oh, somebody got that? Cool. I'm looking forward to whatever God has in store for me.
Absolutely.
Right?
Nobody can get yours.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for what I feel vibrationally coming towards me, because I think I've tried to sow that same seed in return.
Yeah. Yeah, you're speaking of spiritual practice.
Yes, sir.
Because the truth is, if something good happens for someone, we're all connected on a soul level. We're all emanating from the source of all creation.
Amen.
So if some good happens over there, it goes into the field, the meta field. And if we celebrate it, then we're actually tapping into that frequency. But for us uniquely, it's not that specific thing.
Sure.
But it's whatever's for us can come up. But if I am jealous of that, if I allow envy to take over or become a hater, and there's a lot of haters out there.
Haters gonna hate, man.
Haters gonna hate. They don't understand that they're misusing the law. They're blocking their own good.
It's coming back, It's coming back towards.
It's a return to sender universe.
Yes.
Whatever you send out is coming back.
Yes.
That's a profound and deep spiritual practice that the ego, if it grabs your attention, won't let you practice that.
Right.
And you can't feign it. The universe knows your frequency.
Sure.
If you're smiling and faking it. You know what I mean? Congratulations, man. You shouldn't have got it. It should have been me.
Sure.
That's the thing about you. You can't, frequency is your currency. So you cannot lie to the universe.
That was a bar, everybody. Frequency is your currency.
It's your currency. You can't lie. So you have to really, and you practice that, you have to really celebrate other people's gifts and other people's good, because there's no private good. There's only the all good.
Amen.
And people then experience it. And we watched you on there. We were pulling for you, and you just maintained your joy.
Yeah.
I
was to be in the room, Rev, was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. My buddy Mahershala was up on stage.
Yeah.
We went to NYU together. He's a year above me from NYU.
That's beautiful.
It was great. Kui, who had won last year for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Which, if that isn't a metaphysical movie, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
More than once.
Rev, if you talk about some creators that made something after an ayahuasca experience, I was like, Lord have mercy. I think I know how this movie was made.
Listen, we can get into that, but the different dimensions, the different time jump, that's all real.
It's all real.
It's all real.
It is all real.
It's like a lot of the things I don't even talk about in terms of, but one of my practices is like when I'm laying in the bed before I wake up, I'll scan my body from head to toe, relax, and then I go into a deep state of gratitude, and then I choose to live in the timeline in which I am healthy, prosperous, successful, making a major contribution to the world, and I wake up in that timeline. It's the small dimension of my practice. So when I saw some of these movies come out,
Yes, sir.
like the Dark Matter.
Dark Matter. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Okay. I got to see it?
Yeah.
Dark Matter. Okay.
You know, I have nothing to do with the movie. Okay, I have nothing to do with it. I'm not getting nothing residuals from the movie.
Check it out.
But they took quantum physics.
Yeah.
The fact that there are infinite possibilities, and they created a drama around it.
Okay.
In which one man jumps into a possibility of a choice he didn't make, kidnaps the person, as part of himself that made that choice, and takes over his life.
What?
So the rest of the drama is about the original person trying to get back to his own life.
Got it. Okay.
It's deep.
Dark Matter.
But the fact that
Oh, this sounds amazing.
everything all at once,
Yes.
and it's speaking to this quantum reality that's now becoming a part of our language.
Yes. It's. I mean, I think even like the Matrix probably even
Matrix
taps
is good
into
too.
that to a certain
Yeah.
extent as well.
That's
But
a documentary, by the way.
I believe.
You're going to be in the Matrix, or you're not going to be in the Matrix.
I'm with you.
You
I'm
know?
with you. It is. What I've noticed over time, especially when listening to you talk, because you have this way. You have normalized the divine in your language to where people will look at you, and the people who are on the outside are like, "What is he talking about?" But the people who are on the inside are like, "I know exactly what he's talking
Right.
about." Right? And it's like the veil is so thin.
Yes.
Right? But when you cross over the veil, you're like, "Oh, it doesn't seem mysterious or weird or strange or anything. It just sounds like that is."
That's the way it is.
That is.
Yeah.
And when you're outside of it, because I've been both before. Right. And I remember before, and I was just like, what is this man talking about?
Yes. Yeah. And then once you click in, it's like those little pictures where there's a picture, you can't see it.
Yes.
But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
It's like that. People
You
click
really
in and
can't.
say, that's what he's talking about. We're all united. There's only one presence.
Right.
It's everywhere. It never changes. We're an emanation of it. We can change our mind and change our whole reality. You know, it seems very simple.
It does.
But when you're on the outside, when you're in the Matrix,
right,
it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. It's. I can remember I went to. My mom. She's gonna love this. I'm gonna share this story. We had done a silent retreat a few years back, and my mom loves Dr. Oz.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, ooh, Rev's gonna be on Dr. Oz.
Right,
I was
right.
like, that's the way for me to introduce Mom to the Rev, because she loves Dr. Oz. So I said, hey, Mom, my Reverend's gonna be on Dr. Oz. You should tune in on this day, check him out, because he's talking about meditation. And she's like, okay, I'll check him out, right? So after the episode aired, my mom's strong Christian
Right.
woman. And after the episode aired, because the first picture they showed of you on it was a picture of you and His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Ah.
And I said, what'd you think about the episode? And she said, yeah, I saw Dalai Lama, man. That's...
I saw Dalai Lama,
She
man.
said, yeah, I saw Dalai Lama, man. And then...
Was she talking about me?
She's talking about you because you were next to him. And so, and it was this wonderful thing because like
I love it.
At that point, her listening clicked off. My mom also saw I had a book from the Dalai Lama that I was reading. And she says, is this of Jesus? I said, I think he's Buddhist.
Yeah.
And I was answering her question honestly. And she's like, well, why do you have this? I said, Mom, there's something about his countenance that pulls me in. And I'm curious, what allows this man to walk through the world with that smile?
Yeah.
And if there's something that he has to share of wisdom, of knowledge that I can take and incorporate into my life, then I'm all for that, right? Her understanding of things is like, if it's not of Jesus, then it is of the devil, right? And in loving kind, she's like, you be careful. And I understand where she's coming from with that love and the way in which she knows how to practice it. But I'm so thankful, Rev, that I've been able to have enough experiences to know that there is no monopoly on wisdom. There's no monopoly on divine connectivity.
Right.
Like there's so many different modalities and methodologies in which we can experience God's presence. That why would we cut ourselves off
Right.
from being in that beingness in any shape, form, or fashion? A lot of the denominations of what I've grown accustomed to within Christianity, it's all about division.
Right.
Apostolic, Kojic, Baptists, Lutheran, da-da-da, well, we do things this way. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or in the name of Jesus. I'm like, man, I'm trying to find what connects
Absolutely.
rather than what makes us separate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the real deal. It's
Yeah.
like back in the day, people would say, what do you believe in? I believe in the same God that Jesus believed in.
Yeah.
I'm worshiping that. I'm
Come
worshiping
on.
that presence.
Yes, sir.
It's nearer than my breathing and closer than my hands and feet. That's it.
Yes.
You know, and back in the old days, you know, they called me a heretic. They called me a maverick. They called me anything but a son of God. Agape was a no-fly zone.
Yeah,
you know, for the staunch Christians, you know. However, those ministers would be coming to Agape on Wednesday night services.
You told me about that.
You know.
Yes, sir.
And I'd see them back there. I didn't shout them out.
Right.
But, you know.
Yeah. I know you.
Then one day I said, you know, I know you belong to X, Y, and Z church.
Sure.
You know, but you're here on Wednesdays. He said, well, when we have a real problem, we come here. Our grandmothers grew up in the church. So we're over there, social, business. But when we have an issue, when you speak, I get an answer for my issues. You know, don't tell anybody I've been over here. I said, your secret is, okay, Nicodemus, your secret,
There you go.
Your secret is safe with me.
Well, because there's real resonance. I think for me, Rev, I can remember being, 14 something. I was in Bible study, and I asked my Bible study teacher, who was a 35-year-old man or whatnot. I said, so my mom's Christian, and that's by and large why I'm Christian. You know, I was inculcated within this religion. My best friend is Muslim, and his mom and dad are Muslim. And so are you telling me because I had the good fortune of Arlene Brown being my mom, and he had Sohair Waba be his mama, that like I get to go to heaven and he has to go to hell? And this poor 35-year-old dude was like, hey, man, look, I'm just trying to help the church out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to do it. And like, there were these things that would happen periodically in my life. It was like, something doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like the Old Testament, the wrath and the punishment and the way in which that's not even who I am as a father. So if we're talking about a heavenly father, why would he be differently in the way that I would want to treat my own children?
Absolutely. That's the revelation that Carlton Pearson had.
Right.
When he was holding his baby daughter in his arms, and they were looking at a documentary about the devastation that was happening in some part of Africa.
Yeah.
And there was some kids starving to death, and they were already raising money and that type of thing. And he's holding his baby girl, and he's looking at the baby girl with flies flying around her, and he's saying, wait a minute, because they don't know about Jesus, they're just going to go to hell?
Right.
It woke him up.
Right.
To ultimately him being a heretic and being kicked out, and ultimately dealing with inclusivity and embracing of all people, regardless of, you know, what you're talking about here and now. So everybody gets there eventually.
Yeah.
But there's still a swath of individuals that are living in a very narrow viewpoint of reality. They have no idea that you can't even see reality with your limited perception.
Sure.
So, but they're living in this limited perception and are mad at you, mad at me, because we're not in it.
Let me ask you a question. So this is, you said everybody gets there eventually. Do they? I think because there at points in time, if you change your paradigm, it means to a certain extent you have to make an admittance of like, oh, I've thought something for my whole life.
Right.
And now that thing has sort of been taken away from me.
Right.
I think that's uncomfortable for a lot of
Oh, listen, human beings only grow two ways, pain or insight.
Right.
Crisis or a revelation.
Right.
So after a while, like Fannie Lou Hamer, people do come to the fact of, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, the drugs aren't doing it anymore, the alcohol, whatever, the hate. Eventually, you know, the universe is progressive. So the universe is always expanding and revealing the infinite nature of the presence. It's on our side.
Yeah.
So it's cajoling us through pain or pulling us through a vision.
Right.
So eventually everyone gets there, but they still have to choose it.
Right on.
There's no God that's going to come down and say, okay, it's your time.
Right.
You know, you have to make a choice, and that choice is oftentimes from pain.
Yeah.
You know.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Well, okay.
Yeah. You know, we're looking at the planet, look at the world right now, you know, of what we can see of it, because basically
Sure.
what we see is a limited perception of the media
Right.
and how it's given to us. And, you know, we don't really see the whole thing
Yeah.
unless you leave it and go into deep states of meditation.
Right.
But when I look at it from a very high state, I can see that there are old paradigms that are dying. There are systems that are failing as a precursor to something being born.
Sure.
But we're in the middle of all that,
Yeah.
you know? And so depending on whether you are a part of building something new or whether you're a part of trying to sustain the status quo, you're living in two different worlds.
Mm.
You know? You know?
Yes.
Like when I look at a news reporter as an
Right.
example, and I listen to him speak, he's giving the news. Today, most of those reporters are not doing their own investigation.
No. Right.
They're just reading
They're producers. They go
They're
out
producers
and
who
do,
could do this, do a little
Sure.
emphasis on this. Don't talk about that. You know, back in the day, you had real reporters.
Yeah, you
that
did.
If they came on Dan Rather
Yeah.
came on television,
He did this himself.
he went out and met somebody.
Right.
You know, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I say that there are reporters from the old paradigm, and then there are reporters from the new paradigm. Spiritual teachers are reporters of a new paradigm that most people can't see.
Right.
What you see on television are reporters from an old paradigm, and they're telling you what to see
Right.
and how to see it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So you got to fast from that,
Yes, you do.
you know.
So I know I'm on your podcast, but I have to ask you another question. Being a heretic, self-described heretic, as you say, is it an easy space to occupy? Has it grown easier over time? Was there ever any danger in it?
That's interesting. In the beginning, first 5, 8, maybe even 10 years, there was a lot of criticism,
Yeah,
and there was a couple of death threats.
there were.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
remember one time, I could feel it in my solar plexus that something was off, and we were getting this call from this guy, said he was going to kill me, and I won't mention the other person's name, but
Okay.
she was the director of our prayer ministry at the time.
Okay.
They were going to kill us, and he was calling regularly, and I could feel something in my solar plexus. This was something to be concerned about. Normally, criticism bounces off.
Sure.
You know. I said, So one day, someone he called the prayer ministry. He says, I'm going to kill Michael Beckwith. I'm going to kill so-and-so. And the person said, why? He said, he's bringing all these different kind of peoples together. They're not supposed to be together. He's got white people. He's got gay people. He's got black, all these people from all. He said, God doesn't want that. I got to stop this, you know. And then this person started talking to him on the phone and said, well, the person said something like, if you look at a garden, there's all these different kind of flowers coexisting. Do you think that God maybe wants that? The guy hung up. Never called back again. That solar plexus energy went out of my body. I felt, okay, but he just was upset
Yeah.
at the bouquet of unity that was showing up, because it wasn't a black church,
Right.
It wasn't a white church,
Right. Yes.
It was a spiritual community.
Yes,
which
it is.
everybody, But there were other times, but I remember that one was I could feel it when I walked in the sanctuary. I could feel something. Be careful, be alert,
Okay.
and there was, extra security,
Yeah.
seen and unseen, and there was, and then it disappeared, But this is the thing for me, since you're asking.
Yes, sir.
When you see something, you can't unsee it. So when I woke up and could see differently, I couldn't lie. I could not fit this insight into a denomination.
Sure.
It didn't fit.
Yeah.
I had to speak the truth.
Right.
Come what may.
Yes.
You know, whether you hate me, whether you love me, whether you think I'm nuts, whatever the case may be. You know, I had to speak from my own revelation.
Right.
And of course, now, okay, that's 40 years ago. You know, Agape's 38 years old. You know, I was teaching, 40 before Agape. Now, as you say, the language is normalized.
Right.
We have science, we have quantum physicists.
Sure.
We have epigenetics. We have all these people who are now scientifically proving that the cells of your body can hear your thoughts.
Right.
And you can actually change your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. You can change the conditions in your life through spiritual practice. It's all science now.
Yeah.
So the allies have come in over the last 20, 30 years.
Interesting.
And are saying the same thing that was being said that the mystics have been saying for years.
Right.
You know, so now it's popular. You know what I'm saying? I mean, The Secret came out, how many years ago? It made the fact that you could actually determine your own destiny to a degree.
Right.
That became possible. That became a conversation,
Right.
So now it's, I hear the young kids coming up now, they're on their podcast, they're on their social media, repeating
Talking
a lot of things.
about law of attraction or whatever the case may be.
And it's just sweet to me.
But so here's one for you, and I won't go too far into this because you're a deep, deep brother. You have a connection to source that is undeniable, and you don't need where some people go have an ayahuasca experience or do something else. You just dialed in, baby. Like, just the rev is just there. So the question is then, too, given your insight and given people's own personal receptivity, are there ever things that you choose to keep to yourself because they're not ready for them yet?
Over the years, yes.
Okay.
Not as much now.
Okay.
I don't want to say spoon feed it, but I try to break it down.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I would be a little reticent.
Sure.
And I'd quote people.
Okay.
Or sometimes I would do this trick. Let's say I had an experience. And I've had these experiences where I go into the light. I would say things like, I know this teacher, and this teacher did X, Y, and Z, and this is what happened for him.
Yeah.
And he learned this, this, and this. I wouldn't make it on me.
Okay.
And then last 10 years, I just own my own experiences. I would just say, I had a dream, man. This is what happened. Like I was sharing on Sunday that a couple of days ago I had a dream. And in this dream, there were, how you see those documentaries where you see the flock of birds.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So they were showing me on the other side that when a person is in gratitude, I said this on Sunday.
Yeah.
When a person is in deep gratitude and becomes a practice, they're in a mode of receptivity to God's grace.
Sure.
Because God doesn't change.
Right.
You can't pray to change God's mind.
Right.
God is the same yesterday and forever.
Okay.
When you're in gratitude, you're in receptivity. When you're complaining, gossiping, putting people down, you are repelling. It's nothing to do with God.
Yeah.
Just your state of consciousness. But it showed me in the dream these birds flocking around and the sun shining, and where the birds were, the sun was being blocked.
Okay.
So these birds in our mind of complaining and doubting and talking about people and are little birds that are just, the sun is still shining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it came in a dream, and I woke up, and it wasn't like it was new information.
Sure.
But it was more nuanced.
Sure.
It was nuanced in terms of you're either receptive or you're repelling.
Yeah.
That's not on God. That's on you. It's
Right.
on me. It's on us. So it showed me, this is the other part of the dream. It showed me that when people cross over, of course, there is your own life review. And basically, you have a direct experience of how you made people feel. Okay? It's not God judging you. You're a bad person. You ate meat. You did this. You stole. It's not that.
Right.
Your actions affected people, or your inaction affected people, and you experienced that.
Yes.
Okay? And then it showed me that, again, about the receptivity piece, that in your life, you were either receptive or you were repelling, And it was just, I woke up from it, because I get a lot of my stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, when I go to sleep, like on a Saturday, I'll look at my phone and see what the topic is.
Okay.
You know, where's the topic, where's the theme? And I'll just, I say, okay, what is it? You know, and I'll start falling asleep. I pray, I fall asleep. And I'll maybe get a sentence, an opening. That's all I need.
Okay.
You know.
You just need a jumping off.
I need a jumping off.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? And then other stuff will start coming.
Yes, sir.
But what you were asking me about, these days, I'll just share what needs to be shared for that audience.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
And it's I like my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when people criticize me, it doesn't really bother me. It's like, if you know that 2 + 2 is 4.
Right.
So somebody comes up to you and says, man, 2 + 2 is 3.
Right. Terrence Howard might tell you something different. Yeah.
You're crazy. Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm just using math.
Is it?
He has good stuff.
He does?
Oh, Terrence? Oh, yeah.
I don't understand most of what he's saying.
Okay, that's a whole other conversation. Now, he did go to Rhythmia, and he did do ayahuasca.
Oh, really?
Changed his whole life, according to him.
Okay, I got to go talk to him then.
Yeah. And you know who he's studying?
Huh.
Walter Russell.
Okay.
Walter Russell was one of my mentors when I first woke up. I made him popular within the New Thought movement.
Okay.
So when I heard him quoting Walter Russell, I said, Terrence is on to something.
Huh.
You know,
okay, now you're making me see Terrence with new eyes. Thank you, Fred.
I'm not saying he's 100%.
Sure.
But he's on to something.
Okay.
I mean, do you understand what patents he owns?
No. What is that?
This is a whole other. I'm thinking you're gonna make me bring Terrence in here. Listen, he owns the patent for virtual reality, for a lot of the original. He owns that.
Really?
Yes. Look it up. You'll see his name.
Okay.
You brought his name.
I
up.
did. I totally brought it up. I'm gonna look it up.
Let's go back to you for a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
Because obviously you do have a spiritual practice.
I do.
Because you've navigated a lot in your life. You know, you got haters, lovers. You got people that love you. You got you met your wife at Stanford.
I did indeed.
You know, did you go to NYU together too?
We went to NYU together as well. We're both from St. Louis, Missouri. We're both born in the same hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Okay. So you got 2 kids.
We got 2 boys.
So basically, I like to say that, you know, when you get married, that's an intense workshop.
Yeah.
When you have kids,
Yeah.
that's exponentially lessons upon lessons upon lessons.
Sure.
Because your kids bring you what's hidden in your subconscious.
Yeah.
And they throw it right in your face.
They do.
Your son's saying, that ain't no big deal, man.
Sure.
Or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
So how does your spiritual practice assist you in navigating marriage, kids, career, the ups and downs of...
I think the short answer is it gives me a tool to respond versus react. Reaction's involuntary, response is chosen.
Yeah.
People can trigger you, phenomena can come at you or whatnot, and you can ride the wave like that, or you can try to find the middle ground, right? Treat imposter and triumph. Those 2 imposters just the same.
Right.
And so trying to find a middle ground.
Praise and criticism.
Yeah. Just trying to find a way to live life and where I get a chance to actively choose who I wish to be in the world rather than letting phenomena dictate who I am. Yeah. Right? There's so many ups and downs. Before any of the big successes or whatever, you hear no so often that you have to believe your own internal yes enough that you don't allow those no's to dim your light, right? So in that way, being a person of faith from an early age, like, and I want to make sure that I articulate this, like my mom helped to give me a spiritual practice, right? Like speaking in tongues was something that was very instrumental for me. And then I realized, like, there's this quote from Shakespeare that Claudius says in Hamlet. He says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below, words without thoughts never to heaven go. And I remember thinking that the utterance, it was a conduit that allowed my spirit to be connected with God. And I was like, oh, I can do this if I talk, if I don't, if I use English, if I don't, if I use another language. But what my intention behind it is the thing that is allowing me to connect with source, right? And so that can look many different ways for many different practices for many different people. I think What you're also talking about is you get opportunities to illustrate the fruit of the spirit that you've been actively cultivating. Because it's easy to say something in a silo that I believe in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faith, and self-control. Then you have somebody who can rub you the wrong way, whether it be a spouse or children or somebody at work or whatnot, and you're like, oh, now you have to put it in practice.
Yes.
Opportunities are being presented to you rather than you being like, I don't know why somebody getting on my nerves.
Right.
You have to be able to reframe it for yourself and like, what is God allowing me to work on in this moment? I have greater days of success than others.
Right.
But at least
you probably like yourself more today than 10 years ago.
Sure, absolutely.
It's an evolution.
There is an evolution to this whole thing, but I'm learning to, as you said on Sunday, like, it's not, the gratitude isn't like you're thankful for crappy stuff, but you meet it with a space of gratitude, because then you can see what is actively being cultivated within it. Otherwise, it just seems like a burden.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Bad luck.
Yeah.
Why is God picking on me?
There you go.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, you can't. Muscles don't come without work.
Yeah, you can read the book on weightlifting.
You know what I'm saying? That's an interesting thing. You got to go out there and put it into practice, right? So the soul gets opportunities. My mom used to say this thing. I love that. She said, if you can live with your family, you can live with anybody. Because these are the tribe that you did not necessarily choose on a human level, maybe on a spiritual level that you had a choice in there. But like learning how to be with people is a great and a wonderful skill to develop. And now I'm happy. I'm actually like really happy. And there's times in which you're happier than others or whatnot.
Right.
But being able to recognize the gift of like the people in your lives who don't always see eye to eye. And I'm not talking about my wife or my kids right now. I'm talking about people at large. I feel like we have grown accustomed to only talking to people that speak the same language.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We go into our echo chamber and be like, oh, we agree. It's all nice and easy. And then it makes us less adept at when we come up against someone who does not think the same way. Who's like, oh, I don't like you. No. You don't have to like them. Just listen. Just stay present and listen.
Absolutely. I remember I was in India and I was speaking about that same subject.
Yeah.
About the fact that when the lockdown of healthy people happened during the pandemic.
Sure.
And it split a lot of people about vaccination, not vaccination.
Yes.
This and that. And I remember saying in substance, in a spiritual community, you're not going to agree on every single thing.
Right.
Like you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's the time you have to, now you're going to practice love.
There you go.
You're going to practice listening. You're going to practice compassion.
Yeah.
You're going to practice patience. You're going to practice forgiveness, because in this sea of phenomena, you're going to have all these different points of view.
Right.
And if we were all monolithic, it'd be boring. I mean, if we were all the same, people used to say that about black people. You're all the same. No, we're not.
Come on now. We know.
We know we're not all the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they'll have a stereotype,
which
which gets us to American fiction.
Yes.
They have a stereotype of us, and if you don't fit that stereotype, then you're not like a black person. What are you talking about? I am black. Hey, guess what? My parents were black too.
Amen.
So if every ethnicity is not monolithic,
right,
every human being is not the same.
Absolutely.
And so we learn, as you were just saying, we learn how to be with each other.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about two things.
Sure.
One, American Fiction. That's where you received your Oscar nomination.
Yes, sir.
That was a great movie.
Thank you, sir.
That was a great movie.
It was
your part was crazy.
Thank
you. It was
you.
Beautiful.
When I read it, I was on a plane. Ryan and I were going to vacation somewhere. I said, Ryan, I think I found my next project, right? And she goes, really? I was like, Ryan's one of the best scripts I've ever read. And she's like, well, go do it then. And so I was talking to my manager about it too. And she's like, well, you're not the lead and everything like that. I was like, don't matter. Mm-hmm. It don't matter. Like, this is something like Black Panther. I was like, how can I be down?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I see how this has the opportunity to move the culture in a certain way and even move the industry in a way that they may not be fully conscious of.
You slip in, Lawrence Carter likes to say, slip in the spinach into the ice cream.
There you go.
It's like, boom.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about this storyteller who is black, who is a storyteller. My brother, played by the incredible Jeffrey Wright,
right.
plays Thelonious Monk. Oh, I'm forgetting Monk's last name, but we call him Monk. And he's like, I'm a black writer, but I can write more, I write what I know.
Right.
Right? And my experience is different. And so when we sort of like placate the most basic common denominator or whatnot, we're sort of like marginalizing who we are as a people for their benefit.
Right.
Whoever they are. And the idea that Cord was saying, our writer-director, is that like there's so many stories. We have so many stories from our community that are of value, that are, and to Hollywood, commercially valuable as well, because in Hollywood, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Right.
We don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Right.
It doesn't have to be like a tale of trauma, whether it's, hardship and, down in their luck mothers and drug abuse or in prison, et cetera. That can be part of our story. It is not the sum total of our story. Right. So I really appreciate it because you got them to laugh.
Right.
When you get them to laugh, you're able to be like, "Oh man, do we do that?"
I mean, that movie, man, was so good. It had so much.
It did. It had a lot.
It had so much. And your role, man, you were wild.
I was.
But you were believable.
For someone who's always like, I often get asked to play the person that holds things together, and like, so it's nice to play the person that sort of like causes the person to hold things together a little agita.
Right. Yeah, Jeffrey was agitated about
He was like, bro, you got to quit messing with my life. But I think for Cliff, who's the character that I played, who'd been in the closet, married for 20 years, and ultimately his wife found him in bed with another man, what have you. I think he was just trying to live his truth.
Yeah.
As authentically as he knew how to.
He's been clammed up for so long.
So there's going to be, I say to people in interviews, like, Cliff is going to be a mess until he's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? But one thing he's not going to do is allow somebody else to tell him what he should do, because that didn't work for 20 years.
Right.
So he's got to be honest. He's got to be truthful. And I think to all the people in my life who fall under the umbrella of LGBTQIA+, I have so much love. And in my own family, when people are asked to sort of dim their light to fit into, you ain't got to put all that mess in our face. They can do it, but just don't put it in, whatever that case is, right? Like, I just want people to be loved for who they are.
Absolutely.
And that was what I was attempting for Cliff. I think people received it with that spirit.
Yeah. Your role was great. And then the whole storyline about him writing a book to sell money. I mean, if you haven't seen American Fiction, if you haven't seen Sterling in it, go see the movie.
Appreciate it.
Just go right on the platform and watch it, and you'll see two things. You'll see why he was nominated for an Oscar, why Jeffrey was nominated for an Oscar, and the movie itself.
Movie was nominated for Best Picture, and we won Best Adapted Screenplay for Cord Jefferson, who
right. So you got don't sleep on this. This is monumental. The other thing is your wife is an actor as well.
Yes, she is.
She's got skill.
My Ryan Michelle Bethay has skills to pay the bills. We did that first play together at Stanford. Did many plays together. Then we both went to NYU grad school together. We signed with the same agency coming out of school. You've seen her on First Wives Club. She did Endgame on NBC most recently. She's wonderful.
Yeah,
and she's very funny, too.
I was getting ready to say, when I see her, I always think she could do a one-woman show.
She absolutely could.
She could kill it.
She's done a couple of cabarets, too, because she also has a voice. And she actually said to me the other day, she's like, maybe I'll talk to somebody at Agape and see if I can sing one Sunday or something like that.
Done deal.
Boom. Got you, right. I got you.
She's going to get a call from me.
There you go. Okay. But she is, I would say, the more talented of the two of us. Dancing, singing, acting. She is an incredible political mind or whatnot. She's very well read. She was the person who would invite me to Agape in the early days, and I'd be like,
Did you have your Bible in your hand?
Yeah,
I remember somebody says, you bring your Bible to Agape? And somebody said, no, you better bring a dictionary.
There you go. There you go. Where I was reading Conversations with God and all these other things. I'm like, what's all this crap stuff you doing and everything? But she is my partner in life, and a brilliant artist. And we have our own podcast that'll be coming out in September called We Don't Always Agree. So please check it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was with your rising success, did it cause any tension in the relationship?
Oh, Rev, come on now. Are we running out of time?
It could be a yes or no, or it can just be how you navigated it.
So,
because I seen her Instagram where you were just on the cover of what's the guy's name, the fashion.
Oh yes. Oh goodness.
I meant to bring it to have you sign it for me.
I'll sign for you. Oh, I'm blanking, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was a nice photo shoot too.
It's a great photo shoot.
But she was bragging about it on her Instagram.
She was. Mm-hmm. She's incredibly supportive, and also because we've had the same education and have gone through sort of the same steps or whatnot, I often do what I know to do, and there's so many things that I don't know, to make sure that she knows that this rise of her husband is a collective experience.
Yeah, it's a family thing.
That we've done together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it can be tough sometimes when you see your partner out in the world receiving a certain sort of attention and adoration or whatnot, and things have not happened the exact same way for you, but I couldn't do any of it without her.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I needed. Anyway, tell them about your podcast again and anything that we haven't covered that you feel is relevant.
Well, right now I have a rewatch podcast for This Is Us called That Was Us with myself, Chris Sullivan, and Mandy Moore. My wife's podcast and I, Ryan Michelle Bethea, Sterling K. Brown, We Don't Always Agree, will be coming in September. Got a new TV show coming.
Yeah, tell us about that.
New TV show written by Dan Fogelman, who also wrote This Is Us, will be coming out on Hulu in February, I believe. It's called Paradise. Secret Service agent on presidential detail. President dies on his watch, but mysteriously at night we have to find out who got to him and why. There's also some twists
to it. So it's like a
to
suspense.
It's got some suspense to it. A very different vibe than This Is Us, but really, really good. With a great cast. So, yeah.
There you go. Thank you for being, man. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Love you, man. And, you heard, he attends Agape as well.
I do indeed.
So peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Hey, you might as well subscribe to the podcast. You might as well do it.
There you go.
You might as well tell your friends about it. And you might as well help the analytics grow, because basically this is a part of a movement of awakening.
Yes.
Coming out of the matrix, taking back our mind, and actually living the life that we're meant to live. Not that we should live. He should have been an accountant. Not that you should live, but a life that you're meant to live, which means you have to be in touch with your soul. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. And we come to a portion of Take Back Your Mind podcast where it's all about the meditation. Meditation is key and fundamental in becoming more, never less than our true self. It's an understanding of the radical tension between being and becoming. Obviously, our state of being is magnificent. It's eternal. It's forever. Yet, because of its infinite nature, there's always more of us to express. Just as the multidimensional universe is always unfolding and expanding to reveal the infinite nature of the source of all creation, our state of being is perfect. Yet there's more of us that wants to express. So that's that radical tension. So in meditation, we're becoming still. We're understanding the mystery of our being that's not caught up in the phenomena of experience and the phenomena of phenomena, so that we can have an insight into our real nature in being, the timeless, eternal, forever presence of which we are emanations of, and then allow that to move itself into our step. In other words, the eternal then becomes a part of every step we take on this planet. It's practice. Close the outer eye. Tap on the space right here between your eyebrows. Say out loud or to yourself, I am willing to see without eyes, and I'm willing to hear without ears. Bring your hands into your lap. Hands facing upward is a sign of receptivity. You can see without eyes because consciousness produced the eyes. Consciousness sees all. You can hear without ears because consciousness produced the ears. And you can hear with consciousness that which is inaudible to the ear. So we turn within. Take a nice inhalation. Release. And allow yourself to be right here and right now. Become aware that you are aware. Become aware that you are awareness itself. And in your field of awareness, there is your body temple, your mental body, your emotional body, your subtle bodies, the body of your affairs and effects. They're all in your awareness. You are awareness. In this expanded state of awareness, make a choice right now. Choose to wake up to your glorious nature. Make it a choice right now. Choice and an intention. I choose to wake up now. And with this, as your choice and intention, become aware of the feeling of that intention, that choice. Your attention is embracing the choice and intention. This meditation is now being governed by the feeling tone of your choice to wake up to your glorious nature, your eternal, forever self, your super soul self. You're waking up to it. And out of this sacred silence of intentionality, allow yourself to be absolutely grateful that you exist, that you are alive. In this consciousness of gratitude, we become so receptive to more good than we could possibly imagine. And here we abide throughout the course of our day, our afternoon, our evening, staying mindful to this holy state of gratitude and inner silence. And so it is. As you open your eyes, I just want to thank you for tuning in. You may subscribe. You may tell your friends about Take Back Your Mind podcast and Take Back Your Mind meditation. Do it. Peace and blessings. I appreciate your letters and emails that you've been sending in, but also the notes you're sending on the Instagram and on the website, thanking me for Take Back Your Mind. And I thank you for your support. As I've said before, if you want to support Take Back Your Mind, support the sponsors. The main sponsor is the Agape International Spiritual Center, agapelive.com. We have a Facebook presentation, an Instagram presentation, a YouTube presentation, and a website presentation. You can donate to the sponsor at agapelive.com. It's one way that you can donate. It supports the podcast. Second sponsor is Nutrarise.com. You go to Nutrarise.com, those 3 lines up at the top, you touch that line, and you'll get Adaptozen. Adaptozen are my products. The Super Green Superfood Greens and the vitamin D3, K2. Both extremely good for your health, your nutrition. You support the sponsors, you're supporting the podcast. Have a beautiful, and as I like to say, a bright day, luminous day, because you are a luminous being. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in Taking Back Your Mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.